Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Tech Talks with NASCOM Insights. My name is Bandev, Ghosh, Senior Analyst at NASCOM Insights. Joining me today are Mr. Ganesh Pandian Subramanian, Vice President at Inspirisys, and Mr. Sundar Ramaswamy, Head of Digital Process Automation and Retail CPG Vertical at Happiest. Before we get into the questions and answers, let me take this opportunity to introduce our guests for today. Sundar Ramaswamy heads the Retail CPG Vertical and Automation COE at Happiest Minds. He has 25 years plus of experience in consulting, analytics, and automation. He has worked with Accenture, McKinsey & Co., Absolute Data, and Twit prior to Happiest Minds. At Happiest Minds, he's leading digital process automation in the areas of RPA, business process management, and LCAP, which is low-code application platforms. We also have with us Mr. Ganesh Subramanian from Inspirisys. Ganesh is an accomplished and experienced technology leader with a record of achievement driving the development of applications, transformation, portfolio management, and IT consulting. He has successfully executed projects for Fortune 500 companies across industries such as healthcare, financial services, insurance, and retail. He handles the product engineering and development practice for Inspirisys Solutions Limited. A true business leader, he combines business acumen with technical knowledge to drive innovation in software engineering and application management. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So to start with, let me straight away go to Sundar. Sundar, hi, the first question is for you. Being in the industry for a very long period and specifically dealing with, applications in AI automation, and you have also mentioned in your introduction, BPM and LCAP. So how do you think, the market for automation and now intelligent automation is evolving or has evolved in the past couple of years? Now, let me give you a quick background of this. We know that we had a Black Swan event not very long ago, a couple of years back. And, it's not that, digital transformation is a new concept. It has been running for quite a bit for a period of time. But if you look at analysts and, information which is available on the market, see that people are talking about the shortening of time. I mean, what was to be achieved in 2 or 3 year time frame has been compressed in a 6 months or 8 months or 9 months time frame. So how do you think intelligent automation has shaped this space up? How is the area evolving or has evolved the past couple of years? Yeah, Mr. Sundar.
Sure. Bandev, thanks for the question. A very interesting question, and you're absolutely right. The Black Swan event that you talked about and the pending business climate that we are seeing globally. Organizations are realizing that digital transformation is now a very key aspect for their business, and they're quick in the space in response to these events. Now, no digital transformation will be complete without automation as a part of it. You realize the true benefits of a digital transformation only once you've completed a degree of automation as a part of it. And organizations understand that. So at this point of time, when you're trying to reduce the cost of doing business, you want to show business agility in your business. You need to not just do it for your corporate support functions, but also at your, for your core business functions, you need to bring automation into it. Now, traditionally, the automation used to be based on the criteria that if something is standardized, repeatable, has a clear logic, I'm able to automate it.
Yeah.
But over time, people have realized that, with adoption of new technologies, the AI, ML models that you can build, cognitive intelligence built into automation, you can do a far degree of higher automation than what you could have done otherwise. And you can then realize a lot more efficiency and productivity in the way you do. And that's where we are seeing the world move to. And that's what we are seeing in our organization too. So, if our digital transformation business is growing at 30-40%, we are seeing automation-led businesses grow at double that rate. And what's true for us is true for the industry as a whole.
Yeah, there might have been an audio problem in between, so I'm sorry, it could be me or our side. And I missed some of your portions from the last couple of times. Yeah.
So do you want me to repeat or?
Yeah, ideally, if you can, please, just the last portion of it. Yeah.
You'll have to define last.
That's a tough call. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you'll edit it. So let me say, what I was mentioning was increasingly businesses find it imperative to do the whole automation as a part of any digital transformation study, right? It's an imperative for them. And what we have noticed is um, while our business itself in digital transformation is growing at 30 to 40%, the automation-led business is growing at double that rate, which just shows that the automation, in the industry is a very high growth lever, and that couldn't be possible with just straight-jacketed automation of standardized repeatable processes. But you needed to have intelligent automations also built in based on AI-based or machine learning-based algorithms behind it for you to be successful in covering a large scope of automation.
So Ganesh, when you talk about the end user organizations, your customer organizations, when you go across to them and talk to them, what are their key expectations from automation? So is it the fact that they're aware that they need to quicken their process of automation because of pressures in terms of cost, in terms of efficiency, in terms of customer demands, or they're also trying to build competitive differentiation on the market? I mean, from their perspective. So
Okay.
how do you think they are coping up with the changes or the which are happening in the market?
Yeah. Thanks for the question, Bandev. See, predominantly what happens is that in the market, we do have a lot of industries which is serving the service-oriented. The service-oriented. I'll just repeat it.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. In the industry, we do have a lot of industries, especially the customer-based, services they are providing. When we are talking about banking, where they look at customer service time is one of the things. We talk about customer experience as another one. Third one, we talk about availability, which is across industries we see it. Predominantly, when we look at the actual benefit to the customer is customer experience. In banking, especially, when we talk about the experience, we want to quickly understand what is the balance, and we wanted to quickly understand how do we transfer money without the network, challenges, and we are able to see the right data there, the online data, real-time data. A lot of things are there. When we really look at it, many of the things requires automation. That's the first part of it. Second part is the intelligent automation, where we talk about, we understand the customer. So we do have the way of handling things. There may be a lot of challenges in terms of, connectivity. How do we cover that up? I'm just giving a single example on the banking part of it. When we talk about IT services management perspective, which is IT ops or ITSM, we call it as, the problem is, larger than what we think in terms of efficiency or in terms of reliability or in terms of flexibility, in terms of visibility, how long how far we know, and things like that, or even productivity perspective. These are all the primary things we look at it in terms of when we, look at IT services or IT ops perspective. We do have challenges in terms of multi-technology involved in that. And when we are looking at that perspective, the platform we need it has to be very clear on how we are going to connect with all the systems. And when we are talking about the processes, there's a second part of it. Who is going to do what, and what are all the steps there? Who will approve what is going to be provisioning, and who is going to be deprovisioning, and is it have any security tag? A whole lot of gamut of things are there when we are talking about IT services perspective. And moreover, we do have the real-time demands on that perspective. There is something going on there. Something struck there. For example, there's a sale going on, or there's a payment going on. We talk all types of applications and portals available in the server. All the backend is done by ITSM and IT ops. So it becomes predominantly important as well as very tough to manage in terms of availability as well as the completeness of all the tasks without any delay and things like that. So dynamic and real-time demands also drive the overall services perspective. To give a couple of more things on the same perspective, when we are talking about retail industry, they are talking about delivering on time and earlier. Nowadays, you would have heard that deliver within 10 minutes and a lot of stories we heard about. I mean, that is ideally the customer experience is one part. Other part is also the competition part of it. I mean, who is doing better, who is serving better, that comes under customer service as such. So people are evolving as we go along, and I can keep talking about it. I mean, a lot of things are, we can talk about it in that perspective. I mean, I'm stopping here so that we can move on to the next question. Thanks for that.
Bandev, if I can add a couple of things, just because there are two aspects to the question that you asked. One is, what are customers, rather end user companies asking from automation, right? One of the big things that they're asking from them is how quickly the automation can pay for itself, right? Especially in an environment where you're constrained on costs, you cannot really pump in more money in such investments without realizing the benefits. So they break automation programs into smaller chunks, which can be consumed faster, and the benefits are realized earlier. So that's one big piece that we are at least noticing with clients. They don't really go for big bang approaches. Now, the other piece that you asked is related to, what are some, how are organizations coping, right, with it? And I found that successful organizations have 5 specific themes that you will see in what they do, right? So first is they will have some kind of a top level buy-in, typically a CXO level sponsorship for such automation initiatives. Second is they would have carved out a well-defined budget to execute these initiatives. The third is they would have defined clear metrics, targets, goals, and be able to track that, even at a board level periodically. Fourth is they would have identified a championing team, a COE, that they would have built to design and execute these initiatives. And finally, they would have created a cadre of people, but a larger network of ecosystem, the tools, partnerships, etc., to ensure they can speed up the adoption of automation internally, right? They don't try to do it all themselves. So I think that's what, in a way, differentiates even the laggards versus the people who are really at the top end of automation and digital transformation that you would see.
So since you mentioned this, I would like to speak. Now, in one of our recently launched reports, it's called the NASSCOM AI Adoption Index. So we tracked the level of AI maturity or adoption maturity across 4 key sectors of the Indian economy. So one of them is banking, financial services, and I agree with Ganesh. And we see a lot of traction, a lot of use cases from that segment. Apart from that, we tracked healthcare, we tracked manufacturing and in the industrial sector, and I think CPG and retail. So these 4 sectors we tracked across 350 respondents and try to find out, amongst various other questions, one key question: what is the kind of expectations they have when it comes to implementing AI projects within their organization? Now, I understand AI is the technology and intelligent automation is the application of that technology. So I'm just adding to a point which Sundar, which you have mentioned actually. So one of the key challenges which companies mentioned they're facing is the budget thing is obviously there. It's always in the overhand. But apart from that, management buy-in is really important. And since you mentioned that, I would also like to say that a large percentage of them, maybe 60% of them, actually alluded to the fact that it is very difficult, or sometimes it is difficult to objectively quantify the benefits, in real terms. Because you mentioned like 5-stage process when a company, end user wants to implement an automation project, or maybe intelligent automation project. So these are some of the challenges which I agree that some companies are facing, but more on that later. Coming back to Ganesh, I would like to ask, because you mentioned the banking, financial services, you have mentioned the IT organization, like IT service management. What are the other sectors in the Indian economy? If you talk about the, the Indian market, what are the other sectors where you see there is some kind of traction or openness to adoption when it comes to artificial intelligence and, by definition, I mean, going forward, intelligent automation as well? So which are the other sectors you see there is, there is some level of interest? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, energy and utilities is another sector which is, I mean, propping up. And especially the power sector is growing up because, I mean, if you look at it, the challenges in the power sector is that, I mean, the devices they have it, the attitude they place their devices and all the transformers and all the stuff, and also the oil and gas related information. No, that is also very, very tough to manage it manually, where we are talking about basic automation. Then we are also talking about AI based automation, where we can have alerts in terms of threshold reached and how do we respond to that. For example, there is a power down in some sector, so we can quickly identify and we know that where it is broken, and within the next, I mean, a few minutes we will be able to do that. Also, we can automatically switch to the next level as well. I mean, that is where I mean, it's partially automation and it is also an intelligent automation, so that we will have a backup to cover that up. That is I mean, upcoming in Indian industry as well. As I said earlier, banking is a one which is I mean, going ahead in that, in terms of I mean, as I said earlier, the customer experience perspective and I mean, the real time demands perspective, as I said earlier, that is also getting in there. Even though, I mean, only 15% are adopted in banking, there are more people will be adopting in the next couple of years. We are looking at least 55% of them. I mean, not only I'm talking about customer experience, also the RPA part of it. RPA is where we are talking about the automation of tasks, though there is an intelligent automation where we can connect and integrate things which will be more intelligent, because we do have, I mean, tons of systems in every bank. So all the systems are not connected really because they created based on some purpose. So when we want to integrate it as a business flow across all the business units, so there only the real benefit is being achieved, and that is where people are struggling in terms of whether you talk about iPaaS or we are talking about API gateway. I mean, all these things are coming into place where, I mean, the technology all are, I mean, merged into one, where the business is taking the lead and customers are enjoying the, I mean, benefit of it. That's how I look at it.
Ganesh, one thing that I realize is, I don't think it's just a few industries. I think automation has become all pervasive. And in my opinion, there are three themes where, automation is being driven in these industries, right? So for example, if you look at the theme of modernizing legacy apps, that's a theme that you will see in all organizations that have had legacy systems which they need to modernize. BFSI is a classic example. The second is the theme on, they have industries that have invested in large scale ERPs and are wanting to realize the full benefit of the ERP, right? So you want to really extend the ERP, but building onto that ERP is a very costly and time consuming affair, right? So that's where automation on top of it, whether it's through RPA or through LCAP, works. And industries like CPG and manufacturing are taking advantage of it. And the third, theme is where people in an agile manner want to build apps which are, consumer facing and with great customer experience, employee experience kind of apps. They just need to build it very quickly and stitch together systems. And you're seeing that across consumer facing industries. It could be in telecom, it could be media entertainment, all of that. So I've seen these themes emerge, and they are pervasive across industries now. And as the automation journey matures, I'm getting requests from a diverse set of industries, agro-tech industries, all kinds of industries that are wanting to move down the automation journey. But you are absolutely right, Bandev, that BFSI, CPG, retail, manufacturing, healthcare, these have always been the forerunners for automation and digital transformation. They continue to be. But my hypothesis is other industries are catching up?
Another question which is related to this. So, when you talk about automation, and since, Ganesh, you have mentioned, customer experience as one of the key application areas. So my question is it still at the infancy, the stage in terms of the use cases, or are the, customer organizations also moving towards more complex use cases of automation, moving beyond just CX? I mean, what is your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, it is both the ways. Not all of these organizations are moving forward. And when we talk about customer experience, I mean, a simple example which I could give you is the bot. We have, a chat bot available in the market, and it is not really an intelligent ones. I mean, many a times what happens is that we ask simple questions, it answers that. When we ask a little more, I mean, it has to little scratch the logic and come back to you, maybe sometime, most of the time, right? Or we need a human intervention in that part. Where we are talking about intelligent automation plays a very, very beautiful role, and it is the upcoming industry in that on its own. When we talk about intelligent part, that is what the difference is going to be there. In terms of, we talk about AI parts, where one is that understanding the customer need and intent. When we type in an English, ideally it converts the technology part into NLP, what we call it as natural language processing, is what the key master stroke which AI starts with. Then we translate that into a machine learning part, technology part, where it intelligently understands that, okay, this is a overall intent. For example, if we give a date, the data has to be attached to some object. So that intelligence is coming from only the second part of it, which is the machine learning part of it. When we train it better, the response and the accuracy is going to be higher. So these are all the benefits in terms of the AI parts, where whenever we ask for it, we are trying to replace the human intelligence through them, so that humanless, the overall system will work, everything integrated, multiple system connected, whatever we talk about the API connectivity, all done. That is where the industry is all moving into. AI bots is one of the things which also talks about, the virtual agent part, we call it as sometime. And also sometime we get into the predictive advice also, in terms of insurance, in terms of healthcare, in terms of even, suggesting doctors as well, and in terms of legal industry, where a lot of, it's a numerous number of cases we have it in legal. It's a very huge industry. When we talk about that, the data we have is it's very huge. So there, with our, using our, AI and ML and NLP part of it, it is easy for us to, dissect it and quickly come back to on related cases and where we can look at them as well. There is a couple of things, and obviously there is a lot of big data involved in that. If you want to put it into another industry, which is also a marketing part of it. I do have a product, and the whole, the world is getting towards social media. The tons of data they have it in terms of sentiment analysis. If you want to get into it, that is also a part of ML. When we get in there, the intent, when we are talking about a cryptic 10 words or even 5 words, what is the intent? For example, if I am going to buy a car, what is my, sentimental on that particular car? It has multiple elements within that. Whether I like the car for what? For the cost, look and feel, or the brand, or a particular model, and the color. So many parameters are there, and still, there are a lot of ontologies. Another area which is growing up in a larger way in terms of technology, where we will get into a complex problem. We are trying to simplify it and feedback to the end user. Especially if I am a car manufacturer, I am going to launch a car, whether the market is ready, what happened in the past, all these things I can do it in that way. So that is where the market is heading for. As Sundar said earlier, it is across all the industries. We can talk hours on that part, but I'm just giving a few examples where the market is very tightly coupled with the technology. There are a lot of R&D going on. It is not to say that only in India. Across the world it is going on. A lot of research papers are being published, and the industry is growing very good in that perspective. So there is a lot of potential. One is in terms of technology growth. Second, translating them into business, and at the end of the game, the business as well as the user experience. where the benefit is going to be to all the stakeholders in the whole ecosystem. I hope I covered your point.
Yeah, sure. I mean, more than what I expected. Thank you so much, Ganesh, for that. Sundar, I would also like, because he's mentioned quite a few technologies which constitute artificial intelligence. I would like to, get your inputs on the image processing part, because we see from banking organizations, insurance organizations, there are a lot of documents which have to be read, codified, or digitized, for example, for easy reference, for putting all the customer details in one place from where it can be retrieved. And also in, say, for example, in the manufacturing sector, we have aspects like anomaly detection or defect identification, in the processes. So do you think, image classification or image recognition is also one of the important areas where we can actually leverage automation for end organizations?
Bandev, it's one of the core areas, I would say, not just another area. It's actually one of the core areas. And you see the application across multiple areas. We call it document understanding, right? Intelligent document understanding.
Yes.
And let's look at it from different angles. Let's look at it from the tools angles. You see the excitement in the tool business and platforms. They are all integrating OCR engines or computer vision engines into their platform. If you look at any of your RPA tools, you look at any of your BPM tools, you look at any of your LCAP tools, they all want to have OCR engine as a part of it. Either they'll have a partnership or they'll have it in-house within their tool itself. So that gives you the first evidence of how important it is into automation. The second is it's a very pervasive use case, right? If you look at it from a finance function where you receive and process so many different documents, whether it's an accounts receivable function, whether it's a payables function, claims function, whatever, right? Now the technology has leapfrogged, right? Earlier, you would only look at structured documents and be able to process it. But now with ingesting with AI ML models, you're improving the ability to not just look at semi-structured, but unstructured documents too, and process them. And that just kind of increases the potential of automation that you're able to do. Handwriting notes, as long as it's legible to a human eye or human person, can now be read by a lot of these document processing, kind of tools. And that just increases the use cases and the maturity of how document processing has grown. And if I look at a vast number of inquiries that we are getting as an organization on automation, a large part of it comes from the finance function, large part comes for invoice processing, large part comes for claims management from a healthcare setup. So to my mind, that has become a core area. The tools have become a lot more sophisticated. So what's happening is you're not able to just do structured documents, you're able to do semi-structured and unstructured documents, and the case grows. So that is one area. The second area is actually in IT service management, right? If you have a strong, NLP machine, so let's say an event is generated and you need to look at resolutions for it. So if you have a good knowledge base at the back of your service management tool, you're able to process that information and be able to do, you're able to add to the event classification before it gets routed to the service manager. You can start defining its severity, urgency. You can route it to the right person who can handle it. It'll pop up the earlier case histories of similar kind of work that was done so that the service agent can answer the problem faster and better. So there is a use case of even document processing even there. And then, as you rightly said, in a manufacturing setup, computer vision, image processing, etc., becomes very critical. You can look at it from a CPG vertical or a retail vertical where planograms can be read, and you can look at your brand positioning and how is your brand being being displayed, or your logos being displayed, etc. So there's a wide variety of use cases, all built on this whole document processing or image processing computer vision area, and all based on AI ML models. Hope I covered your. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks for the insightful reply, Sundar. Now we have covered most of the things which are in the periphery, but now let us get into the core technology stack, which constitutes intelligent automation. Now, during the course of our research, we found that there is a convergence of various technologies. Now, sometimes I felt from my part it became difficult. Where would you put your finger where it all started? Like there could be business process automation or business process management, case management, etc., which was the norm 10 years, 12 years back. And we had Pegasystems, etc., who are ruling the roast. And then we had automation companies, standalone automation product companies like Blue Prism, etc., which have come. Now they're, if you look at analyst reports, they're trying to add multiple technologies or capabilities onto their main product. So there is a lot of movement in the market. And Ganesh has already mentioned a couple of times about the API economy. So there's a lot of interest on that and the integration platform as a service. Now, earlier during some of our researches, we saw that integration with cloud or multiple clouds across different clouds, hybrid clouds, or on-premise with the cloud, etc. Now we have the application of iPaaS in intelligent automation as well. And then, Sundar, you have experience in low code, no code, this thing. Now, one of my friends used to tell me that LCNC, as we call it in short, is not really, will not be really, the kind of defining feature going forward. Probably it will remain a peripheral item. But going by, the latest trends, we see that application development using citizen developers is really picking up speed, and we have got a couple of dedicated reports on LCNC. Now, in this backdrop, how do you see the intelligent automation technology or this space evolving if you look forward next 2 or 3 years? So I'd like to ask this question to both of you. Maybe Sundar can go first, and then I'll come to Ganesh. Yeah.
Sure, Bandev. So very interesting point, and the technology space and stack grows and moves very rapidly. But what I do see as a common theme across all of this is there is convergence. What I mean by that is people are realizing that you can't be just one part of the entire automation journey. And that's what you will see the RPA players. They're trying to move into the BPM space and low code space. And likewise, the low code platforms are starting to eat into the BPM and RPA space. And that's how you're seeing tie-ups, you're seeing capabilities being built in, etc. Now, where do I see all of this grow? So from a client's perspective, what he wants to see is a seamless, integration of all these technologies. So I see actually a network of ecosystem of these partners coming together and being able to provide that end-to-end automation. Now, there are certain types of work that only a low-code platform can do. There are certain types of work and only RPA work can do. And somewhere you can do it beautifully with API-related technology. But the client is, or the customer or the end user organization is not worried about that. He wants this all stitched together. And that's what you will start seeing. You will start seeing a network of partnerships growing. You will start seeing system integrators like us being able to pick and choose the best of breed. Of course, it will be ideal if one tool or platform has all these capabilities, but if it is not, we are ready to stitch the right tools together and bring it to our customers. Right. So I think that's a given. Now, just one point that you made about low code, no code, and citizen developers. While it looks very cool at the outset, that's not what's happening. Right? I think IT organizations of a company are embracing low code, but they're not letting it loose in an undemocratic or democratic manner into citizen development into the organization. They cannot afford it because it can lead to chaos. Yes. What they are embracing low code to do is for simplicity in managing their platforms and builds, ease of building these platforms, faster turnaround cycles of apps, but they're still getting the erstwhile, programmers or developers or tech guys to work on these platforms. So they're using these tools as enablers for their developers to do it, and not like let it loose for the business to become citizen developers. At least that's what I'm seeing in a large part of the organization. And CIOs are very scared if we were to let it loose. So I just want to temper enthusiasm that we'll have citizen developers and it'll become very pervasive. That I'm not seeing that yet. While the low code platforms enable you to do it, that's not what's happening on the ground.
Ganesh, your inputs on the same question. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Especially, I mean, as you rightly said, I mean, the technologies, evolving and it is merging across the board. We talk about BPM, we talk about low code, no code, and also you mentioned about API. I will include RPA also into that suit so that all will go well as a family, where it's a growth in terms of from baby to a grown man or women, right? We are getting into that phase. Where to start with low code and no code, the advantage is that we can easily do the workflow management with less technical knowledge, as you are mentioning that the citizen, the kind of the development what we are doing it. I mean, it is good to start with, but it is not for the larger or scalable kind of management. We can do that. As Sundar pointed out rightly, it is there bit and pieces. But if I'm a smaller organization which I cannot afford to spend huge money, it is very well managed and small kind of a business. It's very good to have that. And when we are talking about BPM, it is again simply a workflow where it is built upon low code, no code predominantly in that space. Now, as Sundar was saying, we are also expanding into multiple territories, like integrating with multiple things. For example, I have enterprise platform or enterprise application, which has to be connected to my small application, a vendor management application, or even purchase order application, which I have built customized one. So in that case, I mean, it will become mandatory for IBPM or even RPA tools to get that feature to the customer. As the business also evolving, and there is nowhere in the world we say that we are building the system against the business model. We are not doing it. We are all doing bit and pieces. I will do one part of it today. Tomorrow I will add another part of it, and day after tomorrow I will have, a third one, and the fourth day I will connect all the three. Then connecting all the three, I will have a new business model which is evolved. Then I will look at it. How do we migrate, or how do we upgrade the technology as well as the business model? That's going to be evolving as we go along. Because as we also see, the industry is also changing, and like social media got into everybody and all our mobiles. I mean, everything is changing. So when we are talking about the market changes as well as the business changes, the business flow, which is a primary thing in the overall structure of it, I mean, it's being evolved now as the technologies are being merged. So that is how I look at it. And as I said earlier, the API is another bigger thing where it is easy to connect with all the systems, and the gateways, whatever we are talking about, is evolving in a larger way. So definitely automation is one part, and intelligent automation, as we are talking about, adding to the NLP and the ML part, which is going to be, the future of the industry, because we know how to develop applications. We know how to integrate applications. Now, when we are, I'll give another example as well. We have seen multiple charts and trends. Now we are talking about insight into the chart. There is a chart, there is a data into it, and we are seeing that the graph is going up or down or left or right. And in terms of how do I infer that? That kind of intelligence our AI and ML could give based on the past data, based on our intelligence, based on the logic, whatever we have it, whatever the intelligence we have it, based on the trained models. There are a lot of things available. That is where the benefit of technology which is going to bring. And as you rightly pointed out, all are merging and all are again getting into ML and AI space. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, of course. Sure. Thanks, Sundar. Thanks, Ganesh, for the interesting insights. Before we go to the last question of this session, I would like to get your inputs on. Now, if you look at analyst reports, they're always, working on hype cycles and adoptions and maturities, crests and troughs. But I would like to ask you about a specific term that is doing the rounds. It's called hyper automation. Now, since we talk about so the basic idea which is emerging is that it's not good enough to automate just parts of the functions or business processes, etc., using specific tools, integrating with other applications as Ganesh has mentioned. But it entails looking through the entire pipeline to see within an organization across different functions, what are the various areas which can be automated. Now, I think personally that's that'll take some time, that every organization will look at automation as something which is hyper or has to be carried out at all costs. But how do you deal with these new terminologies or jargons which are coming onto the market? Do they also reflect in the mindset of the customers when you speak to them?
So, Bandev, maybe I can start on,
Yeah,
on
sure.
that. So, I'm not too phased about terminologies and jargons, but just to simplify and peel the onion here, what does hyper automation really mean? It means that you are looking at automation pervasively through your organization. If you recollect, I talked about the 5 themes that I see a successful, organization on the automation journey does. It starts top down. So if you have a top down strategic vision and you know the different business parts that can be automated and you have a roadmap that is created with that strategic vision, championed by a COE, championed with well-defined budgets, championed with metrics and goals along the way, then your path to success is a lot more clearer, and your chances of realizing larger benefits are much more. And I think that's what hyper automation really stands for. Now, unfortunately, what typically happens is that's not how it typically happens in an organization. It always starts with heroic efforts, right in one corner in one department where people are, a little bit more technology innovative or they have something to prove and they adopt it. It's successful within that localized environment, but rarely it sees, its effect in the overall organization. And there may be many in a large organization, there may be many such shoots. And what will typically happen is it will remain all localized, it will never realize its full potential, and that's where it fails. So hyper automation as a jargon is great, and I think it will get people and the CEOs and CXOs to start thinking that you can't really bring that automation culture. You cannot bring that automation pervasiveness if you just do these heroic efforts locally. You need to have a top-down mandate and think strategically. I think to that extent, I think it's very good that we have those kinds of reports and jargons around it.
That's an interesting answer, Sundar. Thank you so much. Ganesh, you'd like to add to what Sundar has said? Hyper automation.
Yeah, agree with you that that one jargon. Many a times the jargons are created just to what do you call it as I do a R&D and I'm happy with certain things and I got a productivity out of it, whether it is quantitative or qualitative output, I get it, then I name it. That's how the names or jargons are created. Once you create a jargon, what happens is that the passion has to be passed to the other people so that the benefit is realized. When we talk about that, when we are talking about new terms like hyper automation, people will feel that there is something we need to do, and people are carried away by the term and understand that, and they start looking at it. What is that, and what benefit they will have it? Definitely, it will create a change in terms of the mind model of individual, especially the top shot executive management, and also it'll percolate down to the next level where in terms of development or in terms of business as well. Technology and business works very closely. That is what we are into now. Even including NASSCOM, I think we have a larger organization in India where we talked about, that the technology is being, grown to a larger level. It's because of organizations like you only, no? So there, when we talk about, NASSCOM, it's a similar jargon if you look at for me. So when we are talking about it, we know what it is and what benefit it brings to what stakeholders. So that evolve as we go along. If we are able to sustain it, it will go for decades also. Like whatever we have it called internet, that is also a jargon if you really look at it. And social media is probably in the last one decade we are into it. We'll also evolve something else as we go along. So it's good to have that, and I definitely see a larger benefit across all stakeholders.
Thank you, Ganesh, for that reply. Now, moving on to the last question, I would like to ask so both of you. So going forward, what do you see as the future of automation? If you triangulate it to the Indian context, when you talk to Indian customers or when it comes to the core sectors of the Indian economy, like we have discussed in detail, what are the sectors which are really positively impacted by automation. Now, if we try to understand the Indian perspective, what are your closing remarks? Where are we headed when it comes to India or the adoption of automation or intelligent automation in India?
Sure, maybe I can go first.
Yeah, please, Sundar.
These are very exciting times. Let's not be fooled about it. I think we are entering a really golden chapter in digital transformation, all a lot to do with automation being at the forefront of it. I think people are realizing there are some business imperatives which the tech truly brings home the benefits of. Automation at the part of every core part of your business, your daily life, be it at home, be it in professional environment. We are seeing the automation bringing joy, happiness, and just ability to do more with the less through it. And I think that's going to evolve and only improve. What I see very heartening in an Indian context is those adoption trends are happening in India side by side what we're seeing globally. I'm seeing as many inquiries from clients in India as much as I'm seeing globally towards these new technologies, adoption of automation and thereof. And it gives me a sense that we are not going to adopt this a decade later or so. It's going to happen now. It means we're going to become a much more productive workforce. We're going to have absolutely. But it also means there are certain aspects that we need to take care of. As a service provider, I need to ensure all my employees are tech savvy. They're not tied to one technology or tool. They are flexible in learning new technologies and being innovative about it. They are flexible in being able to stitch two different technologies together and bring solutions to our clients. And as a client organization, as a user organization, employees there need to be able to embrace to the new fact that if they're not going to adopt these technologies, they're going to be left behind. So they need to be trained, retrained with these new technologies. They need to be able to adopt and leverage it, use it, because otherwise they're going to be left behind. So I see imperatives for organizations that they need to adapt. They need to invest in training programs and skill-oriented programs, be flexible to embrace new technologies, not be wedded to a legacy environment or a tool. Otherwise, they'll be left far behind in the business. Technology has now become a core imperative as a strategic differentiator in the success of organizations, and it means every stakeholder needs to embrace it within an organization. Exciting times, though.
Ganesh, your inputs on this?
Yeah, in terms of Indian market, I mean, one of the things which we see it in the last 2 years is the education sector. When we talk about learning, the complete landscape has changed when we are not able to move to a particular place, location, whether it is a school, college, or even ourselves, we are not able to come to the office and work. So all back to the telecom part of it, and also the applications, whatever we have it, whether we are doing, through the mobiles, gadgets, and a lot of live streaming happened. I mean, the data we have consumed across, the devices and things like that is, enormously increased. So that get into the data science part of it, technology wise, and in terms of the domain wise, it is education sector, if you want to put it, and telecom sector, which primarily supported. And as Sundar suggested, was pointing out, it is ideally the IT services which has benefited a lot, where we were able to do new innovation of application development and application support and quickly manage things, which is all into again quantitative and qualitative kind of output. The end customer was able to see that. Education sector is one of the beneficiaries in India where it's grown larger. Second one is the digital transformation part. I mean, in terms of payment and a lot of digital currencies, which given India a better place comparing to the world. Many countries are adopting whatever we are doing it in terms of digital transformation, especially in the finance part of it, where we are, we have a larger volume of people here. Also, the adoption is also increased. Very large in terms of, if you want to put it years wise, the last 2 years, it has been, the great success in that perspective. And retail and consumer perspective, we are also doing, a lot comparing to other, market as well, in terms of quicker delivery and banking. Also, we are doing a lot of customer experience part of it. Not only automation, also intelligent automation. Also, we are doing it as Indian IT industry is one of the largest in the world. So we are also catching up with that. And when we talk about startups and unicorns, we do have a huge number here, and we are also innovating ourselves to put technology into the forefront. And the number of use cases we are coming up nowadays is, really large in that perspective. So to sum it up, a lot of interesting things is happening here, and we would like to have it as well in the future, because we do have technology people. Which is one of the leading technology people in the world is one. Second, there is no depth for R&D also. Many of the organizations do have a R&D as part of their portfolio, where we do the research on bringing out new products and new use cases, where we will also serve the industry better, and the end customer or the user experience is richer than earlier. So to sum it up, the responsive AI is one of the terms which is picking up very faster now, especially when we are talking about data accuracy and data sourcing based on that. And that is the two parameters which will devise the success of this responsive AI. We do have challenges in implementing AI in terms of technology, in terms of the right model decision, and a lot of things are happening. Even though that is the one which is picking up in my view, and I think we have very interesting days ahead, and I think that's what I wanted to just tell you that. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Ganesh. Thank you, Sundar, for your valuable time. It's really important to get the perspective of the industry in this, because you can come out with any kind of research, but unless it is validated or measured in terms of what is happening in the industry, it's not really complete. So thank you very much for your time, and that's it from this edition of Tech Talks. Stay tuned for more insightful discussions in the Indian tech industry with NASCOM Insights YouTube channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. Till then, it's goodbye from me. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Bandev.
Bandev.
Thanks,
Thank
Ganesh.
you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Sundar.
Bye.